Hey, welcome to episode 112 of Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, you're going to hear the likes of Dana Lattery, who's a fly fishing guide. We're going to hear from some people, Lainey Rowell and her guest on Evolving with Gratitude. We've got some leadership content that I'm bringing you because it is gold and I think you need to hear it. So sharing that with you here on episode 112. All right, without further ado, here we go.
I'm Jessica Peresta, host of the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAt5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected.
Hey PLN, it's been a bit since I've been on, and it is Wednesday, March 8th. 2023. Welcome to today. Glad you're here. I'm glad that I'm here. This is my first day out walking in about, a better part of 2.5 weeks now, as I've had a cold and I haven't been feeling great. So it was good to get out the door this morning, get some fresh air. This morning, as I'm out walking, I listened to
Episode 47
of Evolving with Gratitude with Lainey Rowell as she talks with Zandra Joe Galvin, who is a superintendent in California, Greenfield School District. And Sandra, as you have shared, it's important that we don't take the simplest things in life for granted, because they are all the things that get us to where we are now. You and I are the same age, and we can look back with a different kind of perspective, because as you said, we have endured things that other people haven't. And when people come to you with things and issues and challenges and attacks, that we can put ourselves in their shoes with empathy and understand a bit of their journey, because we've probably endured something similar that they are talking to us about. So, Lainey, fantastic for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing this conversation that you had with Zandra. And people, you should take a listen because it'll encourage you. All right, thank you, Zandra. Appreciate it. Have a fabulous day. Goodbye. One more thing for March 9, 2023. Maybe it's March 8th. I think it's March 8th. Anyhow, as I was earlier in the week sitting at my fly tying bench, I listened to an episode of the Fly Fishing 97 podcast with Mark Hopley. And this is a podcast that I like to listen to. It talks about fly fishing, attitudes towards fishing, and just how people are passionate about this thing that I love so very much. So it's pretty cool to hear people sit down and talk with Mark. On episode 239, Mark talks with Dana Lattery, who was a professional hockey player turned to a fly fishing guide. And Dana talks about his journey going through life and enduring challenge. And what are you going to do with that? Are you going to sit and wallow in it? Or are you going to get up and figure out how to get through these challenging things? He was in junior hockey and made it to the AHL. And then through a series of events, had to stop playing hockey. What I was inspired by that I want to share with you is that Dana talks about being a fly fishing guide in Calgary, Alberta on the Bow River. And he talks about having clients come to take their very first day of fly fishing, or possibly their last. And he talked about a story about a gentleman who was dying of cancer, and his friend brought him fly fishing, and how he was so excited about the opportunity to smell nature and be present there. And Dana was talking about how his drift boat is like a floating couch, and he talks to people and gets an opportunity to connect with people. Maybe they fish, maybe they don't, but the point is that he's been hired to spend time with these people, so he makes a connection with them. All right, take a listen. It's inspiring. Fly Fishing 97 podcast, episode 239. I've shared that only a couple times here on Fresh Air at 5. All right, almost home, and that's about it. Thanks, bye. Hey PLN, welcome to March 9th, 2023. Out here for Fresh Air at 5. The moon is setting behind me. The sun is rising ahead of me, and it is a spectacular, beautiful morning. This morning I ran into my friend Bruce and his dog Sophie out walking, and we got to chat on the road. And so I think it was episode 93 or something, or 83 or something. I asked the question, who's your Bruce? And that's the Bruce that I was talking about. Go back and take a listen to me talk about Bruce a little bit there. Yeah, as I'm finishing up this morning, I was really privileged to listen to a New to Me podcast, and it is Leaning into Leadership with Darren Papard, and he is the founder of Road to Awesome and has a publishing company and has, professional development opportunities, etc., etc. His podcast, Leaning into Leadership, is a New to Me podcast. You should take a listen to this. And as far as leadership stuff goes, this has been impactful this morning. I listened to Darren talk on episode 62 to Captain Aaron Keith Hopkins, who is a former police captain in New Jersey and has served in the United States for about 25 years or so, has retired and is now a keynote speaker and talks about leadership development and what it means to be a leader. And Aaron talks on this podcast about his 4 pillars of leadership, and those things are related to the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And those things he talks about with the earth being the foundations of relationship, the air being clarity of your purpose as a leader. What's your purpose and what do you do? And fire is your mindset and what drives you and being excellent in what you do. And finally, the water is the self-care and how we need to take care of ourselves. Impactful. You should take a listen to this. With clarity and intention, we need to step forward in leadership in whatever, ever space we are. Classroom teacher, EA, husband, father, etc., etc. So that's important. All right. Thank you, Darren. Aaron, talk to you guys. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, Friday, March 10th, 2023. It's Good Friday in the sense that it is the day at spring break starts at the end of my workday today. So I am actually quite excited about that. I've got some learning to do today. We got some Pro D today and marking, catching up with my students, finishing things off, settling things down so that students can carry on with their online work while I'm on vacation. And then we come back and we're in the final stretch of the school year, wrapping up the yearbook, other things, projects, and continuing student learning. So excited. I'm going to be doing some Pro D over spring break, doing some learning myself, and working on a podcasting rig that I have avoided a little bit because I don't know how to use it, but I'm going to work on that. So excited about that. And yes, this morning as I'm walking, I listened to Seeing to Lead with Dr. Chris Jones, and he has on guest Lindsay Lyons, who is an educational justice coach. And Lindsay talks about educational justice, social justice, talks about learning and how we involve students in their learning and how we go beyond grades and engage students to become learners and own the stuff that they are learning, how to make choice. Student voice is so very important. It is awesome to hear. And Dr. Chris and Lindsay, I appreciate hearing your deep conversation. This is one of those people that you need to go listen to if you're a leader at all in any of your spaces, because how do we lead and how do we, bring the best out of people and have them own their learning. That's so very important. When I see students in owning their learning, doing things that I have taught them to do without me pressuring them and giving them an assignment or a task, and they're just doing it because, wow, it makes sense what Carpenter's talking about. That's fantastic. Teaching students tools of creation and things like that, and watching them make things on their own or for other classes. Oh, brilliant. All right, that's all I got. Happy Friday. Peace out. Enjoy your week. Bye. The last thing for March 10th, 2023, I'm bringing you an episode of Teachers on Fire, episode 224, as Tim Cavey brings us 2 radical suggestions for dealing with your phone and how to boost your energy and to deal with, scheduled emails and why they don't work. So I challenge you to take a listen to this. And Tim, I agree with you on one of those 2 points. Well, maybe 2 of those 2 points even. So there's 2 points. You'll have to listen. Well, I'll tell you right now. All right. 1, leave your phone out of your bedroom. That's going to help with a whole lot of things in your life and allow you to get better sleep. There's other reasons he gives in there. You'll have to take a listen. The other is leave your phone on Do Not Disturb 24/7. Oh my goodness, dude. I don't know if I could do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could do that because my phone is a tool. Well, it's also, an inbox. It's also, where I get notifications and stay connected, and I want to be able to see those things. But I guess the whole point there is leave it on Do Not Disturb and I get them on my own terms. That's maybe the better part. It's my choice to pick up my phone. So take a listen to what Tim has to say. I encourage you to practice some of these things over spring break. I'm going to leave my phone on Do Not Disturb 24/7 and see what happens. All right, that's all I got. We'll talk to you soon. And maybe that last thing will last maybe a day or 2, but I'm going to give it a go. All right, peace out. Have a good day. Bye.
As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.